Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. Well, it is that time of year. We're halfway through the year, just past. We're now into July. So what I thought I'd do, and this is something I used to do all the time on the channel. I don't remember doing it last year though, which is the exception. I thought I would do a top 5 best and worst films so far of 2022. So far, I do think it's been a pretty good year, but I also think there's been some pretty terrible films at the same time. So I thought I would revisit and let you know some of my thoughts on both of these. Now, if you want to know what 2022 films that I recommend, there is a playlist on the channel that is literally titled 2022 Films I Recommend. But also, if you're looking for films to avoid, there is a playlist on the channel that I think it's called Low Scoring 2022 Films. So generally speaking, anything that scores below 5 out of 10, if it's like 4 out of 10, something like that, I will put it in the low scoring one. And generally speaking, if anything scores 8 out of 10 or above, I'll put it in the recommended list. That's generally how my mind works, but not always. Occasionally, there are some exceptions to that as well. So I do hope you enjoy this list. I would love to hear in the comments, or if you've got your own channels, what your favourites are. And always, guys, thank you very much for supporting the channel. There's a couple of films I want to talk about before I get to my top 5 of the worst and my favourite films of the year. And the first one I want to mention in regards to the worst films of the year is a film called Lockdown. It's a low-budget film about these guys that break out of jail in a police station, take hostages, and Michael Paré is tasked with dealing with them, although he doesn't deal with them. He just basically sits in a room eating sandwiches for the whole film. It's really, really terrible. It is a film that I have covered and reviewed on the channel, as I have all these films that I'm going to talk about, but generally miss this one. One of my favourite films of the year is Jackass Forever. Now, I do acknowledge that Jackass films are not for everybody. And if you're not a fan of these Jackass films or the Jackass brand in general, then you're not going to enjoy this one either. I personally really do enjoy Jackass. It's a show and movies that I have grown up with. I'm a similar age to most of the guys that is doing Jackass. So it's really of my generation, and I really do enjoy it. And I thought Jackass Forever was a real return to form. Very, very funny. I really enjoyed Jackass 4.5 as well. That is now available on Netflix. But yeah, I really do enjoy the Jackass brand. The second film that is dishonorably mentioned, I suppose, is a film called Alien Sniper S. Oh boy, this is a low budget fare where essentially it's the usual invasion of the body snatchers type thing. Aliens come to Earth, take over humans, and the only one that can save us is this crack shot Alien Sniper S character. It's as bad as it sounds. Very, very low budget. Really, really dodgy performances. Terrible effects. And very, very little to recommend here. It is just pretty terrible, if I'm honest. And then the last recommendation that I want to give you to check out is a film called Bull. I really enjoyed this film. It's a film that I've heard nobody else talk about. It kind of flew under the radar. It came out in 2021, but mainly at festivals. It's been released this year. And this one really took me by surprise. It's about this criminal, basically, this enforcer who comes back from the dead pretty much to protect his family. It's pretty hard-hitting. It's pretty brutal. And it is, I think, really very, very good indeed. Right, coming in at number 5 on the worst films of the year. And I'm going to alternate these, as you can probably guess from the pattern that I've been doing so far. Yes, it's a film called Bull Shark. It's basically a no-budget remake of Jaws. And as I said in my review, I think even if they threw 200 million at a remake of Jaws, it's never going to come close to the Steven Spielberg version. So to throw £2.50 at a film and a packet of crisps to make this film was never going to work. It is really quite terrible, and it is just wholly unrecommended in my opinion. Coming in at number 5 on my films to recommend for 2022 is The Northmen. It's a bit bizarre, this film, not going to lie. There are aspects of it that I'm not absolutely in love with. It's a film I do want to watch again, But ultimately, this is a really fantastic Viking film that is very violent, very gritty, very hard hitting with some fabulous performances, and a really, really well made film that is actually quite beautiful to look at. And it is a film I do strongly recommend. I am very much looking forward to checking it out again, and it is out available on Blu-ray, I think, in the middle of July too. Coming in at number 4 on my films not to recommend this year, or worst films, is a film called The Sleep. This is described as like an experimental film, and to be honest, it's very rare this ever happens to me. I couldn't finish this film. I think I got about 3/4 of the way through and turned it off. It's appalling. It's just an assault of the senses. When I stopped watching this film, I had a headache. I was hyper. It's just not an enjoyable film in any way, shape, or form. About these teens everything gets thrown at them. It's just awful. Even Harry Potter ones are in this sort of thing. It's just a bonkers film. Number 4 on my favourite films of the year so far is a film called Father Stew, and this is another film that nobody seems to be talking about. And I really enjoyed this film. Mark Wahlberg, Mel Gibson, Jackie Weaver. Mark Wahlberg's character plays a likeable rogue who essentially decides he wants to become a priest. It's a true story as well, a really fascinating story and a very, very uplifting story, and also quite light-hearted in its approach too. Just a really uplifting and easy to watch film, and I really, really quite enjoyed this one. Coming in at number 3 on the list of the worst films of the year is a film called Gators. Now, the only reason this isn't further up the list is because it's kind of got a bit of a sense of humour about it. It doesn't take itself particularly seriously, this film, but it's essentially a no-budget film, once again, of these gators killing people by pulling them down plug holes, sinkholes, all this kind of stuff. It's truly an awful film, and not a film that can be recommended in any way, shape or form. Even if you like these low-budget affairs, there's very little to recommend in this one. Number 3 on my favourite films of the year is Hustle, the Netflix Adam Sandler sports drama, the basketball sports drama. I reviewed this fairly recently on the channel. I thoroughly enjoyed this one. I thought Adam Sandler was absolutely superb here. Strongly recommend this one to any of you guys that haven't seen it, and especially any of you out there that are on a bit of a downer with Adam Sandler. This is wonderful. In my opinion, this is arguably up there with his strongest performances. It's also quite light in its approach, but it's got some real hard-hitting aspects of the film as well. And it's really uplifting too. Definitely recommend this one. Coming in at number 2 of the worst films of the year is a film called The Prototype. Oh boy, where do I start with this one? It's another alien invasion-y type film with a bit of time travel involved. It's so hard to explain the plot in like 30-40 seconds because it's all over the place. Trust me though, guys, this is shocking. They've bought the costumes from charity shops for this one. It's just abysmal. I can barely remember it. I've tried to push it out of my brain, but you know, if you want to be sure about it, just go and check out my review. It is really very, very terrible. My second favourite film of the year is The Batman. Just recently come out on Blu-ray. I've rewatched it again, enjoyed it just as much second time round. It is a really brilliant reinvention of the Batman character, and I'll be honest, initially before this film came out, I was a little bit apprehensive because I just didn't necessarily think we needed another Batman right now. I thought we still hadn't finished with the Ben Affleck version, and then we're going into a new one so soon. But I was wrong. This is beautifully made. Really great to see Batman actually being Batman in this film. Very, very hard-hitting indeed. And my number 1 for worst film of the year so far in 2022 is a film called The Lost Treasure. Don't know where to start with this one. Again, Joe, go and check out my review. I think I lost all enthusiasm for even reviewing this one. I basically just said, here, look, this film is really terrible, guys. I don't really want to go into too much detail why. Watch the trailer. And then I put the trailer up. And just by watching the trailer, I do not understand anybody that would think, ooh, this looks good. I'll go and watch this film. but I unfortunately did. But I got sent it as a screener. Yeah, one easily to avoid, guys. Terrible film. And my favourite film of the year so far in 2022 is The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. In regards to quality, it might not be up there as the best film of the year, but this is the film I've enjoyed the most this year. It's the film that's entertained me the most this year. Nicolas Cage fans are obviously getting a real treat with this film, but you don't necessarily need to be a Nicolas Cage fan to really enjoy this film. It helps, but it doesn't. You don't need to be. Nicolas Cage playing Nicolas Cage in a film is just heavenly. Just the sound of it sounds great. The way they actually put it on screen delivers, I think, in every way, and I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed the film, and I can't wait for it to come out on Blu-ray. It's due out very, very soon in July. I've already pre-ordered my copy. So there you go, guys. That is my top 5 best and worst films of 2022 so far. Please, again, guys, let me know in the comments what your thoughts are, what your favourites are, and of course, I will be back with loads more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.